G'day folks, it's Rob here. The other day I was filming a backyard walk around clip and it got a little bit too long, shall we say. I ended up with nearly 2 hours worth of vision I had to edit down, so I did leave out this little garden I've set up down the back here. It's a wicking root pouch garden. I did put a poll in that clip asking if people wanted to see it and the majority said yes, so here we go. The reason I wanted to do this as a standalone clip is I've changed the soil makeup a little bit, just because I had a few issues with carrots and potatoes before being in pouches. It got a little bit too damp. So anyway, we'll bring the camera down so I don't crink my neck, and yeah, I'll just walk you through the steps I took to make up the soil. So the whole idea of having this little wicking root pouch garden here is I'm trying to take advantage of the winter sun. As you can probably make out, it's set a little bit off parallel with the fence over there, the trellis is, I mean. That's basically because pretty much all directly behind the camera facing this way is north. Being in the southern hemisphere, we're going to have the sun travel through the sky on an arc like this, which means the front side of this trellis is going to get a lot of light. Just in these two pouches down the front here, we had some potatoes that started to chit in the pantry, so I stuck 4 in, 2 in each pouch. Over here we have some carrots, so because these guys are fairly low down, they're going to need as much sunlight as they can, so I figure facing this way, they're going to get a good amount of the winter sun. Up the back there I have a trellis, quite obviously, that actually came from this bed just over here. So Kira's trying to move, so she's not in shot, just from this bed here, but I took it down and moved it over here just because I think it's in a better position. Up that trellis is going to be some sugar snap peas, or honey pod peas, sorry. They're a snap pea. They'll grow up there. I think there's 4 in that pouch, 3 in that pouch, and 3 in that pouch. Might be 4 in that pouch actually. And just down on the corner here we have a loofah. That it's just a volunteer plant, but I thought I'd give it, you know, a chance at life. Put in a bit of extra fencing there, just so it can grow up there, and then into the wire trellis, and then up the top, if it wants to, into the mango tree. So that's pretty much well, yeah, the garden's set up as it is. Oh, the only other thing that's a little bit different to most gardens is it's sitting in a tray. The tray is actually the side of an IBC that used to be in the fish farm. I've just taken off pretty much around about 3 inches just of the side of the IBC, and that's created a nice large tray we can put the pouches in. There's actually room for a couple of more pouches, but yeah, I haven't worked out what's going in there yet. So the reason I've got these pouches sitting in the tray is so they can basically self-irrigate. The water can come up through into the pouches, into the root zone of the plants. They can take what they need. Don't have to worry about mosquitoes because I'll let this tray basically dry up for a couple of days. There'll be enough moisture left in the soil mixer within the pouches, and yeah, that'll kill any wrigglers in there. It's worked for me before, and yeah, so I haven't had any problems with increased mosquitoes that we've noticed. So it's a pretty basic system. As for the soil blend itself, I have changed it around this time, mainly because the last lot of potatoes I grew in these pouches, I have a feeling the soil mix was just too moist, too wet, and that sort of contributed to the plants not doing too well. Not only that, this pouch here had some carrots in it up in the wicking garden just at the back stairs, and when I emptied the soil out after the carrots were harvested, I gave it a good squeeze and I got a lot of moisture out of it. Now, what really concerned me was the bed itself had been dry for 3 days. I hadn't put any water in the little reservoir tray down the bottom, so that basically means the organic matter in there, the compost in particular, is holding far too much moisture. I decided to mix up the soil mix a little bit. Now, I've started off with a basic mix for these 3 pouches along the back here, the same as the previous mixes I've made and posted clips on, and that's basically a 1-to-1 compost to a basic potting mix. I ended up adding a little bit of sand to it, probably I would say round about 1.5 gallons, or what's that, around about 6 or 7 litres of coarse river sand. The idea behind that was just to increase the drainage of the soil mix, hoping that it doesn't hold as much water. So yeah, I'm not too worried about the roots of the peas, but yeah, for these plants down the front definitely is a bit of a concern. Now with these potato pouches, what I've done is I've added in about 50 millimeters of sand just in the base. Now the idea behind that is the soil itself will need to get water water wicked up to it from the sand. I just figure if I've got a bit of sand in there, then it sort of it doesn't wick up as well or hold as much water as organic matter, so then the water can slowly wick up into the soil mix and hopefully won't become waterlogged. So after the sand went in, I put in about 50 ml or 2 inches of the soil mix, popped in 2 seed potatoes in each pouch with the eyes poking upwards, and then covered it with about another 1.5 inches or 40 ml of the soil mix. The reason I haven't filled it all the way to the top is I want the greenery to emerge a bit, then I'll backfill in, and then that'll just protect any of the potatoes that form just slightly above the seed potato from getting exposed to the light, and then they go green and manky and not too good for us to eat at all. I'm hoping that these guys, having a sandier soil blend, they should do a lot better. It was suggested to me actually by some very helpful people on the last potato harvest clip I did, so thank you very much, folks. Now with this carrot here, I've pretty much done the same thing. I've started off with the 50 ml or 2 inches of sand down the base, then in went some soil, and I've gone one step further and added in a whole heap more sand. I'd say at a guess I'd probably added in roughly around about another gallon worth of sand just into this 7-gallon pot. Oh, what's that? It's a 30 litre pot. So the reason I've done that is I wanted to make the soil blend nice and loose. The looser the blend, the better the chance is you're going to have a nice straight carrot that's going to grow straight down, and you're not going to end up with any gnarly roots. So that's pretty much all it as far as the soil goes. I mean, it's just something I'm playing around with. There's so many different soil blends out there online and being taught around the place that, it's one of those things. I'm going to keep having a crack at it, see what works best for these guys here in a wicking situation in the root pouches, but I think I'm pretty much well sold on the basic 1-to-1 mix for my wicking barrels that I make up. So I just thought I'd give you a bit of a look at that. Just for how I sowed the carrots out, I went old school. I basically got a handful of carrot seeds and just sprinkled them over the top. Then I went and grabbed one of my little compost sifters and just basically sifted out some fine compost over the top just to cover over the seeds. So it's worked for me many times before, so I'll keep using that method for sowing out the carrots. I mean, I could have used carrot tape. I've used it before. I've posted a clip on it, but just for a small little pouch like this, it seems silly to make up a whole heap of tape just to cut off. I prefer to mass sow, then thin them out, and end up with some smaller carrots to throw in the salads. Once I've sown out the carrot seeds, one little trick I like to do is just to pop over a rag over the top of it, make sure it's nice and damp, and what that does, it makes sure that the soil covering the seed stays nice and moist and just gives your carrots a great chance of germinating. It's an old trick family members have used and I've seen elsewhere online as well. Before the peas were sown out, I had them soaking in water for about 18 hours just in a little yogurt culture jar that we're not using anymore. What that does is just helps the seeds swell up a little bit, and I've found it improves the germination rate and also speeds the whole process along a bit. When it came to sowing them out, I pretty much just drilled a hole about 20 mil deep or about 3/4 of an inch, just pop them in and just cover them up, and that's pretty much all as easy as it gets. What I might do is I'll bring you in, give you a bit of a closer look at how these seeds are going. They've been planted out now for 4 days, so here we go. So just down here with the carrots, you can see we've had a fairly good germination rate. I really do like using that towel technique. It just does help keep the top of the soil nice and moist. As you can see, it's rather dark when compared with, say, this P1 over here. Just a whole heap more moisture is held at the surface. I've actually took the towel off this afternoon because I didn't want to crush these guys too much. Fairly good germination rate, as you can see. Unfortunately, I'm not too sure on the variety. I did sow out a purple variety I got from Baker's Creek Seeds in the States, but unfortunately it looks like they've had a mishap in their packing room, and they're not too sure what sort of seed is in here, what variety. So they've been very nice, and off their own bat they've sent me some new seed that will grow true to type, as well as some bonus. So these guys here, it's going to be a little bit of a surprise to see what variety they are, but either way, I've had a fairly good germination rate, and there's still a few small ones popping up, so I'm fairly sure this pouch will fill out nicely in the next week or so. Just over the back here this morning, I noticed we've got a couple of the peas have shot, so these guys have taken about 4 days to shoot as well, so fairly chuffed with that. Just over in this pouch here, they're just below the surface, so I don't really want to preempt them too much. We'll just cover them up. They can come out when they're good and ready. Yeah, all in all, I'm pretty happy with the way the little garden has started out. and hopefully those pea vines will grow up and reach out for the sunlight, and having them at the back means, you know, I won't get any shade over these little guys down the front. So I'm fairly chuffed at how this soil mix is looking so far. I mean, I know we're only 4 days into it, but the top of the pouches seems to be drying out a little bit, so that's a good sign. It means they're not going to be waterlogged. I didn't mention before, but we did have mainly very short carrots come out of the root pouches at the back stairs, and I have a feeling it's because they were far too moist in there. I forgot to mention that before, but it is definitely one thing I'm keeping in mind with these guys. It would be nice if I had the same variety to grow again, just to see if that was the case, but yeah, we'll see how these fellas work out. If this is the first time you've seen one of our clips, feel free to hit that subscribe button, but if you need some more convincing, I'll pop some thumbnails up there and you can check out some other bits and pieces around the patch, just different garden walk-arounds and aquaponics and things like that. Just quickly, the new shirt. Thank you very much to a very lovely friend in India. I sent some seeds over, and not only did I get some new cool looking shirts, but the girls all got some as well. So a big shout out and a big thank you very much. I won't mention any names, so I really do appreciate it, and if there's ever anything I can do in return, hit me up. I'd be more than happy to help. So anyway, I will leave it there now. I do hope everyone is well and happy, and I will catch you next weekend, fingers crossed, for another clip. Cheers, folks. Just while we were filming, Kira pointed out that these little bees are all congregating on the wire here, so it's a little bit odd. I'll have to look into that. There's another little few up here. So I dare say they're from our hive, which is just set up over there, our little native beehive. Thank you again to Mr. Paul for splitting with us and yeah, giving us the bottom of his hive. Cheers, folks.